Let us be completely honest with ourselves for a moment, guys. The writers are desperately trying to spoon-feed us a narrative that this is just a simple, albeit reckless, case of a jealous new girlfriend trying to eliminate the saintly ex-wife. Jacinda Bracken supposedly hatched this shady, independent plot all on her own at the Metro Court pool. She decided to drug Willow Kane's iced coffee, hoping to make her look like an erratic, unfit mother in front of Michael Corinthos and the rest of the town. We all watched in absolute horror as Willow, completely high and out of her mind, happily grabbed her car keys, preparing to drive her innocent kids to the arcade. We watched the terrifying near tragedy of little Wiley almost taking a sip of that spiked, dangerous drink. And we certainly saw Michael's absolute fury and disgust when he finally discovered what Jacinda had done. On the surface, it looks like an open and shut case of romantic jealousy taken way too far. A classic soap opera trope that we have seen a million times, right? Wrong. If you ask me, this entire surface level narrative is nothing but a massive, glittering distraction designed to blind us all. I have been analyzing the intricate webs of this show for years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that Jacinda Bracken is not the brilliant architect of this chaos. She is being used as a pawn, a incredibly convenient scapegoat for a much larger, far more sinister operation currently sweeping through Port Charles. The person truly pulling the strings orchestrated this entire coffee drugging incident not because they actually cared about harming Willow physically, but because they desperately needed to create a blinding smokescreen. They needed Michael Corinthos, Harrison Chase, Tracy Quartermain, and the entire police department to be so utterly consumed by Willow's sudden, erratic behavior that they would not notice what was actually happening right under their noses. The ultimate goal was never to ruin Willow's pristine reputation. The goal was to quietly, covertly extract a long-buried secret while everyone else was busy staring at the explosive fireworks Jacinda unwittingly set off. But that's not even the craziest part. Enter Brooklyn Quartermain. Now, we all know Brooklyn is currently drowning in her own deep sea of guilt over framing Willow for Jordan Ashford's hit-and-run accident. She is absolutely terrified that her entire life, her reputation, and her fragile marriage to Harrison Chase are about to completely collapse once the full truth comes out. But despite her flaws, Brooklyn is also incredibly sharp and fiercely observant. When she starts looking into the timeline of Willow's bizarre behavior, trying to cover her own tracks or perhaps figure out what really happened, she is going to notice something that the PCPD completely missed in their initial sweep. There is an unexplained, highly suspicious gap in the timeline right before Willow started acting out of character. A specific window of time where things just do not add up, where movements cannot be accounted for. As Brooklyn digs deeper into this glaring discrepancy, she is going to realize that the pieces of this puzzle were not scattered randomly. They were placed there, deliberately. Someone wanted these exact breadcrumbs to be found. This is where the jaw-dropping twist comes into play, ladies. Brooklyn might genuinely think she is acting as the rogue detective, trying to figure out what really happened to the woman she openly despises, but she is actually walking straight into a meticulously designed trap. The shadowy mastermind behind this entire conspiracy knew exactly how Brooklyn operated. They knew she would be hyper-focused on Willow because of her own guilty conscience and her desperate need for control. They engineered a situation so severe, so undeniably chaotic, that Brooklyn would have absolutely no choice but to step in and investigate it herself. And by doing so, every single move she makes, every clue she uncovers, is being closely monitored. Brooklyn isn't just an independent observer solving a mystery. She is being actively tracked and manipulated by the very person she is trying to expose. She is being led down a dark hallway with no exit. But that's not even the craziest part. Let us take a step back and look at the bigger, much more terrifying picture, because my investigative instincts are screaming that this goes all the way up to the top of the Corinthos crime syndicate. I firmly believe that the mastermind is hunting for a highly classified, incredibly dangerous dossier related to the Corinthos family's darkest operation. Think about the current climate in Port Charles. With Jason Morgan returning and trying to leave the mob to protect Danny, Sonny scrambling to maintain his absolute power against new threats, and Michael flexing his corporate muscles at deception, the family is uniquely vulnerable right now. And Willow? Sweet, unassuming Willow just happens to be the accidental keeper of the exact information this shadowy figure desperately needs. This perfectly explains why the setup had to be so incredibly convoluted and complex. If they just broke into Willow's house with guns blazing, it would raise immediate, violent red flags for Sonny and Jason. But By using Jacinda to drug Willow, it looks like a petty personal vendetta, completely masking the true corporate or criminal espionage at play. And here is the bombshell detail that I am betting Brooke Lynn completely overlooks in her frantic rush, but I certainly did not. There is a specific individual who was supposed to be at the scene, someone who conveniently vanished into thin air right before the chaos erupted. If we follow this hidden trail, it becomes terrifyingly clear that this entire spectacle was designed to steal something of immense, unquantifiable value from Willow. Jacinda genuinely believes she is executing her own petty revenge plot, completely blind to the fact that she is being expertly manipulated by a phantom. Brooke Lynn thinks she is uncovering the truth, but she is just following a script written by a ghost. Everyone is playing their assigned part perfectly, leaving Willow completely exposed to the real, looming threat. So that's not even the craziest part. Here is the absolute climax of this entire storyline, the moment that is going to wreak devastation on everything we thought we knew about this plot. When the drugs finally wear off, the fog lifts, and Willow Kane is completely sober, the horrifying truth will come out. The PCPD, Michael, and even Brooke Lynn will automatically assume the culprit was trying to steal a physical object, a flash drive, a hidden document, maybe even Jack Brennan's infamous missing black box that Nina has been desperately searching for. But when Willow frantically checks her belongings, she will make a chilling realization. Absolutely nothing physical is missing. Her purse is intact, her safe is locked. The item the mastermind was trying to steal wasn't an object at all. The long-buried secret is locked deep inside Willow's memory. At some point recently, Willow inadvertently saw or heard something incredibly dangerous, something that could shift the entire balance of power in Port Charles. She might have walked past a cracked door at the exact wrong moment, glanced at a confidential email on Michael's phone, or overheard a whispered, lethal conversation between Jack Brennan and a mysterious contact. She absorbed this explosive information without ever realizing its true lethal value. The mastermind realized Willow possessed this secret and drugged her not just to discredit her, but to completely disorient. They were hoping she would reveal it in her vulnerable, uninhibited state, or worse, they were hoping to gaslight her into forgetting it entirely by scrambling her brain. They're trying to erase the hard drive of her mind before she can put the pieces together and realize what she actually knows. Once this terrifying reality sets in, Brooke Lynn is going to have to completely change her tactics, and it is going to be a bitter pill to swallow. This is no longer just about clearing her own guilty conscience or figuring out who drugged a cup of iced coffee. Brooke Lynn is going to realize that Willow's life is in imminent, fatal danger. She will have to pivot drastically from trying to destroy Willow to actively protecting her. And the most chilling part of all, Brooke Lynn will have to protect Willow from the very people who are pretending to be her closest allies. The circle of trust in Port Charles is about to shrink to absolute zero. Anyone from the newly arrived Hudson Parker to Jack Brennan, or even someone lurking inside the Quartermain mansion, could be the puppet master pulling the string. This brings me to the most dangerous, echoing question of all, guys. If Jacinda Bracken is not the mastermind, if she is nothing more than a tragic, manipulated scapegoat who thought she was acting on her own free will, then who on earth led her to the slaughter? Who handed her the drugs, planted the toxic seed of jealousy in her mind, and set this catastrophic chain of events into motion? If you ask me, the answer to that question is going to blow the lid off a massive, unprecedented conspiracy in Port Charles. A conspiracy so vast and so deadly that it will force Willow, Brooke Lynn, and Michael to realize that this was never just about a spiked cup of coffee. The real war is just beginning, the true enemies are hiding in plain sight, and the casualties are going to be absolutely devastating. Who do you think is really pulling the strings in this twisted game? Let me know your thoughts, and stay tuned, because this nightmare is far from over.